I will actually have a little bit of a presentation. As you will be able to tell, I used to work in consulting for a little bit. As you can tell, it was just a little bit. So my love for creating beautiful slides is quite underdeveloped. I just use it because I like pictures, and I think it might be a bit easier also for me to remember what I want to say. So the topic today is why is change so fucking hard? And as you can see in the title, there's a little bit of a warning from my side that this next 15 minutes might contain some cursing, but it's very hard for me to contain myself and restrain myself from cursing, because I just, when I get excited about things and I speak English, then I curse. So basically, this will be a very personal session today, because I will speak a lot about myself and about the stuff that has happened to me, and hope maybe that there's some stuff in there that might be relevant for you. And in the end, we're going to do a little exercise, which is one of my favorite exercises ever. So there will be some interactive part for you, which is very nice. You don't have to do too much, but there will be some little interactive part for you. So quick thing about me. As you can see, I was a really sweet little kid in the bucket. And then as you can also see down here, this is my little sister. As you can see look how different we look on this picture. Like, she has this helmet on her head and she just looks so happy and confident and gangster. And I look quite, I don't know, uncomfortable in a way. And I was bullied a bit in kindergarten because I was just so sweet. And if someone would bully me, I would just not do anything. And then I later became a bully myself and bullied some other kids. That's how it generally goes with bullies a bit, I guess. And as I went into school, I was offered to skip a grade, skip from 6th to 7th grade. And I was like really scared because the other boys are older and I had some trouble with them, and I was scared, so I didn't. And then my grades dropped so much that I actually repeated the grade. And I remember my teacher, when I announced that I'm repeating the grade, he was like, wow, he's never seen that happen. I'm the first person he's ever met that could have skipped and then repeated. I also got, during my work time, you see here me working at Uber, quite round. That was 6 years ago, roughly. I got to nearly 100 kilo and I slimmed down to like very skinny, and it's like, lots of ups and downs. I had a slip disc in my neck. Now I do yoga a lot. Actually, I left church, stopped paying church tax. Something I can actually highly recommend to any one of you who pays taxes in Germany. It's not a good investment. Better put it into a unit. And now I'm meditating every day, and I'm praying, and I'm like really into this stuff. So like a lot of change happening, a bunch of other stuff too. So there was a lot of change, and I was really into changing myself. And when you have some problem in your life and you think, hey, I want to change something about it. And hopefully, a lot of people have a problem in their life and they just bury themselves in some other shit, so they don't have to deal with it. But a lot of people, if they have a problem, they try to fix it. And what you then always see is something like this, like Tony Robbins, like, come to me for a weekend and you will be healed forever, and you'll be glory till the end of days. Or this other lady I found, like a weekend that change your life. And I think a common misconception is for that change is quick. And in my experience, at least, I can only talk for myself, change was not quick. It was generally quite slow and kind of ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And I never had a weekend that changed my life in that sense. And I guess that has something to do with this, there's something about the 10,000 hour rule to become a genius, or to be like, Mozart. People say, wow, Mozart, he was such a genius. Well, he started like writing crazy piano music stuff when he was 6 years old. He had his 10,000 hours, and before he could, before he was 12 years old, right? So generally, like when we often see people that are doing amazing, or people that are like, of course there's crazy talents and stuff, but often it's because they put in a lot of fucking work and a lot of, took them a long time. They just crammed this time of practice in a very, very short time span. When you look at Michael, what he has done in, how old are you, 27 or something like that, Michael? Like, he has done more shit in his life than most people would need 5 lives for, like 500 years of life or 300 years or whatever. But there's also this kind of idea of that you have this one moment that changes everything, right? That you have, you have this one thing happening to you, and then your whole life is different. And something like this might have happened to me. I had a slip disc. I had an accident and I had a slip disc and I couldn't move and it was really shit. And nothing really changed immediately. They wanted to operate my neck and it kind of sucked. And then I decided to do some exercise, and they said, do these exercises for 4 weeks, you'll feel much better. Did it for half a year, didn't feel that much better. What caused it was that I worked all the time and was like, sitting there like Gollum trying to do some business shit. And I immediately signed up for another crazy restructuring project in Saudi Arabia. So the slip disc thing was not this magic moment that changed it. It just took a long time of doing more practice and then starting yoga, and then over time, it happened. The other misconception can be that change is easy. You see this guy is like, hey, do this, download my ebook or buy my weight slim fit powder shit, and then you will do this in 4 weeks. Like, it's just, and it will be easy. Like, I think change can be quick in some cases, but it can definitely not be easy. Like, if you want to do change quick, then it has to be exceedingly painful in a short time. But I would say the overall amount of pain is probably the same. You just can't cram that amount of pain in a short period of time. So for me, a lot of that was when, as you can see here, I have a beautiful wife. You will see her later too. She would talk in like 1.5 hours. And when I was young, I was not good at like meeting women, getting to know women. And so I was good at being their best friend and listening to the problems they have with cool dudes, and then like accommodating them for it, but not really getting them to be excited about me as like a dude. And so I Googled, I was like, hey, there must be something to it. I can maybe learn the skill of getting to know women. So I found something, it's called Pickups. There's a huge community about it. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of online marketing people are from this community actually. And it's about meeting like the art and science of getting to know women and convincing them that you're amazing. And you go there online and you have the same shit as with Tony Robbins, but way worse, obviously. You have like, say this 3, download my ebook or my video course, and you watch this for 3 hours, and then every woman will love you, no matter how ugly you are, right? Or how like ugly is not even the problem usually, but how much you hate yourself, right? And generally, even if you're like, the self-hate is probably worse than the looks generally. So anyways, I thought I'm going to learn this really quick, and turned out not quick. Like I met some guys who were doing this for a bit longer, and I was like, chatting. I would go to Munich city center and we're chatting up women on the street. We're like, hey, I'm Cornelius, I'd like to meet you, get to know you better. And she's like, why you talk to me? Like, who are you? Stop talking to me. I was like, it's not easy and comfortable because you're super creeped out by yourself already. Like, how would she handle that situation better? So, and he told me, he's like, well, don't expect too much from the first 1,000 women you chat up. I was like, fuck, man, I can maybe chat up 5 to 10 an hour. That's a lot of hours and a lot of afternoons or evenings that I have to spend doing this. And he's like, well, it's like anything, you have to practice and then you get better. And I mean, thinking about now, I went through this quite a long time, and now when I meet people and they're like, oh, you have such a beautiful wife, she's so cool, like, I was like, well, dude, I got rejected by I calculated roughly, tried to get to know 5,000 ladies. Maybe there was some repeats in there, but around about 5,000. So 4,999 of them told me more in some way or another to fuck off, right? So the conversion rate for anyone who does online marketing is not great in that sense. But so like these things don't come from anywhere. I think another thing for this is, or what helps me really with this, is that like you read this like quick win, make money quick. I mean, besides crypto, it's really hard to make money quick. But like make money quick, get skinny quick, whatever it is, like. And when we then try to do something like this and we fail really horribly at it because it's just not so easy, then we think we're losers and we are the problem. The problem is not necessarily us. The problem is usually that there's some very aggressive false marketing claim, and that's about it. And our bodies are used to, like, our bodies are designed for not change in a way. Because in the past, like I'm 31 now, whatever I've been doing so far has worked. I'm surviving, right? I'm alive. So if I want my body to change, he's like, dude, fuck off. I've survived for 31 years without doing this crazy new shit you're trying to do. Like, please stop it. and he would try to scheme up some ways how to get me to not do this new stuff. And that's just natural. I will later share some things that I've learned that helped me to hack myself in that sense. Is the question that fuck it then, like not do anything? And I think it's not really the optimal like situation, right? Like right now we're having a really nice life. Obviously, we're generally living wherever we want. We have some good money, and we're working together, my wife and I, and we're traveling together. And people are like, oh, that's so nice. I could never work with my wife. I was like, well, I couldn't work with my wife either until we really put our heads to it and like created this and fought through it every day, basically. And we have an amazing meditation teacher and therapist who really helped us with this. And it didn't fall from the sky that we can work together abroad. Like we've worked a lot, and a lot of tears and a lot of fighting and a lot of crying to get to be able to properly work together. And then the same thing for working abroad. Like all these things are painful, but in the end, it's better than just, you know, sitting at home not doing anything. So, but it really helps me to know what I'm getting into and not think, oh, I'm a loser because I can't get skinny in 3 weeks. But more like, well, it's just really extremely hard to do it, and I'm prepared for it in a sense, or like aware of it. Another thing with that, what makes change really hard for me, at least, is habits. Like I noticed that when I'm 6 months in Germany, in the beginning, my habits are great. And the longer I'm in Germany, the more bad habits creep in, and the more often the cue for the habit, the trigger, is somewhere out and gets me to do some stupid shit. When I then change to another location again, I'm free, I'm new, I have no bad habits. And then it takes some time and then it creep in again. But the changing of location is extremely helpful for me to get out of bad habits and, you know, learn and grow and heal myself. Now I want to share some really quick tips with you that I've learned from fighting with this stuff and reading like millions of self-help books, most of the time just reading them and not doing anything about it, as usual with books that we read. But something that really helped me personally is getting a good, or just first of all, any is better than none, but generally like a therapist. I think it's the best thing ever you can do. It sounds really, especially as a dude, you're cool, you want to go to the gym and get huge. That will solve all your problems. But in my opinion, it helps me more to have a therapist. Thing is, it doesn't fix your life in a sense. It just brings you to face all the shit you have buried for a long time. And then you have to go through that pain, but in the long term, it definitely gets in the right direction. And then I have a daily struggle with my phone. Like I love looking at news and getting angry about what some assholes are doing again, and some like people that have different opinions of me. And so it really helps me to try to reduce that. In the morning, not every day, but every other day, I struggle with it. Like I usually get up and meditate, and then there's a little phone, and I want to just check something, and whoop, half an hour later, I just watch some shit about what some stupid people in the world are doing, and I'm mad. I'm sitting down to meditate, and there's just all these things in my head about all these horrible things that happen in the world. And if I don't do that, I'm super chill and have a much better day. So I highly recommend it to anyone. Try some news fasting. It's really amazing. I also discovered airplane mode, really cool. For the news, I got some app blocker, and it's really embarrassing when I like Twitter. I really like to flame on Twitter. And so when I see, I'm going onto Twitter like a donkey, basically, just like automatic habits. And then it's like the app is blocked. I'm like, oh, and then it says like blocked 4th time today, 7 times this week. And I'm like, fuck, have I really tried 7 times this week already to open Twitter? Man, fuck, I thought this is the 2nd time, right? So this app blocker thing is really godsend for me to keep myself from kind of sabotaging myself, or like, these habits that are just not healthy for me. I also discovered something really good is for falling asleep better, because I often have so much shit in my head. I started to journal. It's actually not so bad. There's some few questions actually. Oh yeah, there's a journal. I just write in it a little bit, and I read a book before I go to bed and try to not be on the phone. Magic, I sleep much better, but it's hard. And then I do yoga. And another thing, if you want to lose weight, like me, you can't keep from eating nice stuff, and you can't keep yourself from sometimes drinking beers. Intermittent fasting has been amazing for me. It's easier for me to do intermittent fasting than controlling my eating habits. So I'm always trying to work around my shit. And it shouldn't say eat more veggies, but buy more veggies, because if you buy them, you can eat them. So for me, the trick is to eat a lot before I go, eat before shopping, ideally. Often I forget. Then I buy a lot of shit, and then I have to deal with eating Snickers for 2 weeks, or not eat them and have to deal with that. So yeah, there's a little things that help me. And now to round it out, and then we go into questions, I would invite you to do a little exercise. And for that exercise, I want to share this link with you. And you can do it in this mirror board too. By the way, mirror boards are amazing. With only one account, you can use it with hundreds of people. I hope nobody from Mirror is listening. So it's really good. I invite you here to share of the people that are here. The link is in here. You can just open it and come in. 5 things that I'm grateful for. And that is an exercise that I try to do, if I don't forget it, most evenings or mornings when I practice meditation. And I just write down 5 things or remind myself of 5 things that are nice and that I'm grateful for. Because for me, at least, gratefulness helps me a lot with dealing with my ambitious shit in my head and feeling like I'm not good enough with doing stuff, and someone else raised $10 million and I only raised 5. Not that I raised any, but like in that sense, you know, there's always someone with a bigger one. And gratefulness helps me to not have to be reminded of this too often. Yeah, so I'm just going to put on some stuff. We are happy to join. I'm just going to type some stuff and talk about it a little bit. Please join and write in what you're happy or grateful for. Good, some people are doing it. I'm very happy to see that. Yeah, so a bunch of stuff. I'm really happy that I have both arms and legs and that my brain works, which is something that we often forget because we're so used to it. Also, I think I'm very happy that I can have time to be here and chat with you and having the opportunity to talk in front of people who listen to me, which is amazing. And I don't have to work like at a supermarket cash, like beep, beep, beep style. So I'm really happy about that. Today was a beautiful day of sunshine where we are, and I have a wonderful wife. Yeah, lots of stuff to be grateful for. And wow, our mother-in-law is amazing. She helped us today move the laundry. She brings us food. It's so fucking nice. It's incredible. Yeah, amazing. Very happy that you are joining me in on this exercise. And it's something that never gets bored. It's like often when you're trying, like I started with 5, but if you do like trying to do 50 things, fuck, you get creative. Like you go into whole new layers of gratitude when you think about, you have to come with 50 things that you're grateful for. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna look if there are some questions. Oh, they're beautiful questions. Oh, I love it. There was a question, how does one decide or realize that one requires therapy? That is an amazing question about therapy, because I honestly think everyone, 8 billion people in the world require therapy. So I think being born human is a pretty good indicator that you require therapy. That would be my answer to this. And require in the sense of like it benefits. I mean, I remember when we started with therapy, well, not we, Natasha started with it. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm not going to do therapy. I'm not crazy, right? And then over time, I noticed how she's more relaxed, how she's sweeter with me. It's good. And I was like, hey, like, well, what's going on there? Can I like partake a little bit? And it still took a long time for me to actually open up to it. Like I was quite resistant. I think 3 years, maybe. Yeah. So it took some time of resistance, but yeah, it was. I'm so grateful for it. And the only thing I think, man, I should have started with this when I was like 13. That would have since, like, I mean, obviously worked all good so far, but I think it would have saved me a lot of pain to start with this earlier. Yeah, so that's my thing about therapy. There's a question from Karsten. Does your wife have the same routine, or do you use different protocols? It's pretty similar, I would say. Yeah, it's pretty similar. Oh, that's actually just got a sweet comment. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, we use similar things. We have we hang out all the time together, so there's some overlays. But for example, I do yoga every morning, and she does it more in the evening because that fits better for her. So we have it very different. By the way, yoga, I hate going to yoga classes. I just watch Boho Beautiful on YouTube, 15 minutes or something like that, and it's so nice. It's like actually like if you do that, the day is generally pretty good for me, and it costs nothing, and it's I have not as much excuse besides like getting stuck on some YouTube shit when I open it, but generally that works decent these days. Yeah, so we use pretty similar routine, I would say. Yeah, but it takes a long time to build. Like, oh, this whole thing with morning routines, like, yeah, like, oh, it's so fucking painful and slow to build it. So what I'm learning is, and I'm still very much in the process, that like I always try to do everything fast, right? I think, hey, I can do this. Like, you know, I'm gonna have like now this 1 hour morning routine with all these 15 different steps, and I'm gonna have my life change because I read some book about Miracle Morning or some shit. And then I started with it, and I can do it for 3 days, and the fourth day I'm already hating myself for it, or I just find some excuse to not do it. So I'm really trying to do things super baby step now. I often still do stuff not baby step, and it doesn't work, but the things that work were the ones where the baby step. Like, you know, I mentioned before that we do around 2 hours of meditation a day. I couldn't even do 5 minutes. I had to do like half a year of 10-15 minutes of yoga. That's like, I could do 10 minutes of yoga. That was okay for me to do. Someone talks to you and you can do it for like half a year until I could even sit for 5 minutes of meditation. So this, when people are like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just going to meditate an hour a day. Like, some people might be able to do it, but not me. Like, for me, it's like, oh, freaks me out. So rather small stuff. Yeah. Yeah. There are no more questions. So I don't know what to do.
No worries. Yeah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on how, like, or what are the positive effects, like, from changing these habits?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the most positive effect is that I'm not sure if even the habits, but I'm not beating myself up as much anymore. Like, I think there's this constant struggle to, like, you know, there's this constant struggle of who we are and who we want to be, right? And the more we watch news and TV and shit, the worse it gets generally. So I'm trying to do less of that. But I think having these habits in place, and it takes a long time, like for me, there's like 21 days to form a habit. I do not trust that. Like, for me, it takes more like, I don't know, not 21 months, but it's definitely more than 21 days. But I don't have to now, even now, I mean, we do a lot of meditation and yoga, but there's still often many days I'm like, oh, fuck, I would rather go and check some emails and work. But the amount of pain or of willpower required is becoming a bit less. So I think that on the habit side, but I think for me, like, the main benefit of this therapy and meditation things, which I think makes all the other stuff much easier, because generally what keeps us from doing healthy habits is that we have some trauma. We have some trauma from the past somehow that we're totally not aware of, obviously, otherwise it would be there. And as long as we have that trauma, it will be a hell lot fucking harder to change our habits. Versus, you know, if we go to more of the root of the problem, then it's much easier to change the habits. So this part has helped me in a way more accept myself and accept certain things about me that are not perfect. There's like this teaching and, you know, meditation that, you know, you'll never get it together. You'll always be a mess in that sense, right? And I really like that, because I always feel like a mess. Like, no matter how well I'm doing, internally I always feel like, oh my God, I'm like, you know, kind of fucking up all the time in a sense. And that level of how much I feel I'm fucking up all the time is becoming less and less and less. It's still pretty good, but it's not as aggressive as before, I would say.
Also, I heard it from somebody else like before, that everybody has kind of a childhood trauma and everybody needs like a therapy. As that was like not the first time I heard it, but how do you know like if you have like a trauma? I mean, you kind of should be able to remember back and to know like, or does everybody needs to have a trauma? Like, does everybody has a messy childhood? Or I mean
I mean, it's really, I would say, so first of all, it depends on how much you believe in, like, I would say, reincarnation. Like, I mean, in most Asian religions, people believe in it, and that helps a lot with understanding the trauma better. And Christian Western religion, it really fucks it up because it's a bit tricky. But generally, I would say, if you're not like an enlightened saint, then you probably have some trauma somewhere, right? Like by more or less by definition, I would assume. So I would say everyone has some trauma. The issue is just we're not aware of it. Like for me, I always had for like a long time, also doing therapy for long. I was like, I had a nice childhood. I was like, everything's chill, and I was really convinced of it. And then one day I got really high. And being high sometimes really helps remembering things. And I remembered how I was when I was really young, 3 or 4. I always had these nightmares as kids, and I couldn't breathe at night. I would wake up and it was horrible, like night after night. And I was just crying. I was like, fuck, I totally forgot that. I forgot that for, well, that was when I was 4. So like 25, 26 years, I was so, like, it's such a deep layer of my kind of personality that I wouldn't be able to access it yet. Because I wouldn't be able to handle it at that time. So it's like what we do with the therapy and the trauma is like you kind of, our meditation teacher also says like we're peeling the layers. It's like an onion, you know, that you have to peel one layer after another, after another, after another. And it's just like, I don't know, thousands of layers. Like it's a long process. But, you know, sometimes you then remember some trauma, or you're able to access these memories of some trauma.
Yeah, I can relate to that actually. Like sometimes you suppress specific situations and then later they come up and then you actually process them, reflecting on them, and then it actually releases some of this maybe tension in your body and some other parts. It's all linked together. But what was so interesting, like how do you think like reincarnation is linked to traumas? Like, is it like a trauma from a previous life, or how is it linked?
I would assume so, yeah. I mean, I'm not like the biggest pro on that stuff yet, but as far as I can tell from my own experience of working with traumas, that often it's like something absolutely horrific has happened, and then it comes back in this life in a much, much more like homeopathic dose that then helps you to get to that older shit. But that is like, at least for me, there was a lot of crying and pain about this life traumas. And there still are, before you get to deal with past life traumas. But yeah, that's a
session for itself.
That's a session for itself. But I think there's plenty to do in this. There's plenty in our general childhood and youth that keeps us busy for quite some years, I would say.
That's true. Let's all go to therapy and change something.
I can highly recommend it. Like I'm just like literally best decision in my life, including investing in crypto. And I've been very blessed with my crypto investments. But I would say starting therapy was definitely much better. That's
the 2 big takeaways: invest in crypto and get therapy, and then
get a good wife.
And get a good wife. That's a good part. Okay, thank you. I think it's right on time, Cornelius. Thank you very much for the session. I mean, you can post your email or your LinkedIn handle if somebody wants to reach out to you in the chat. And yeah, I'm excited to see your wife in 1.5 hours.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
It had been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having you here.